Hey guys, today we're going to be planting blackberries and tulips. These blackberries, I'm very, very excited. We were at a nursery a week or two ago and Emily found these, and these are Olallie berries. They're the same berries we grew at our last house that have been in my family for 30, 35 years. I took cuttings of those from the old house and brought them here. Unfortunately, most of my cuttings on everything failed, mainly because it was 95 degrees and super dry. So when I found these in the nursery and they were those same variety, we got 3, and I think I'm going to head back and get some more actually. But I'm going to show you how to plant blackberries and then kind of explain how to take care of them a little bit. Same with the tulips. The first thing that we have to figure out is where these are going to go. I've got a couple of ideas in mind. Nothing is perfect and probably nothing will be permanent, but I need to get them in the ground. Maybe they'll grow for a couple of years before I have to possibly move them, or just divide them, leave them where they are, and move some to a new location. Let's go. So I really, I have the vegetable garden here now, but that's going to be leaving, but by the time summer's here. And this will all be eventually tropical. The vegetable garden, the future vegetable garden, is going to be on this side, as you probably know, over there. But I don't want to have a perennial like a blueberry or a blackberry in the vegetable garden. Those are going to be mainly annuals. This is why I'm not planting asparagus yet, because those have to stay in place for many years, and I'm not ready for that. So my thought is this chain link fence here, it would be a great place to put them, because number one, they're going to grow up and cover that fence and the view beyond, at least up to about here, which is perfect. The only reason this would be a temporary fix is because this road right here, while it doesn't get a lot of traffic, the traffic it gets are loud because we have nurseries all along here, and so there's always delivery trucks several times a day, very loud ones coming up and down. So my thought is, you see where these logs are right here, all the way down that way, is putting up a sound wall. That way we can keep some of the noise out of that area, out of this whole area. Checking on the fig trees we planted a couple months ago. They were dormant, but I can see, come on, they are starting to pop out of it. First thing I have to do is move some of this firewood out of the way and watch for snakes. They should have great drainage, seeing that they're right here on the edge of a cliff. And they'll get full sun all day. And the sun actually comes, in the summer especially, comes this way. So they'll get sun in the morning on this side, and then on the afternoon sun, they'll get it on the other side. So that should produce a lot of berries. Now, I'm not adding any compost to the soil. I think this soil has had a lot of activity with bugs breaking down the bark that was on these logs. I've seen a lot of mycorrhizal fungi activity when I pick up the logs, between the logs and the soil, so that lets me know there's a lot of microbial activity going on. So I'm just going to plant these directly into the native soil, which seems to be very soft here against this cliff. And then once I have these all planted, I'm going to cover the top of the soil with 3 to 4 inches of compost. And I've seen a lot of worm activity, which I haven't seen a lot on the whole property, but I think with these logs sitting here and decomposing, we're getting a lot of soil life. And so I think this is going to be a great place for these. And I'm going to space these about 3 feet apart. Now I really want to get some good growth out of these. They're already putting out leaves too, so I can go ahead and fertilize them. I'm going to mix some Neptune's Harvest crab and lobster and some kelp meal into the soil around them. So this year, this little stick here will probably put on a few side branches. It might flower, it might give us a couple of berries, but really what we're looking for are the first primocanes to come up from the base of the plant. So primocanes are the first year's growth, and then secondary canes come on the second year. And it's the secondary branches actually that produce the berries. So this summer, throughout the summer, there's going to be primocanes sprouting up from the ground around this initial little stem. And they're going to grow 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 feet or more this summer. And by the end of the summer, I will be cutting them off. I have a whole other video I'll link below about this and how to prune. But basically, it's going to put up a bunch of long shoots, which I will cut off at the top of this fence or however tall I want them to be, tie them into the fence, and then it's going to put out its secondary branches, which come off the sides. I'll also tie those up, and those will produce next summer's berries, early summer, late spring. So this is our seasonal bed, and that's going to be changing out with the seasons. As you might remember, we had this bed for Christmas. I put in these 3 pine trees, had some Dusty Miller for kind of a silver accent, and then we had a lot of poinsettias. Well, it's time to switch that out to spring. So I've removed the poinsettias. They were well past their prime. And so it's time to plant the tulips, because I really want a beautiful, bold tulip display here. Even though tulips don't last that long, that's why I'm going to have some other plants in around them in kind of a pattern. But they just, I mean, they say spring, right? Tulips are spring. All right, the tulips have been in our garage fridge for a few months, like 3 months, I think. So I got 4 of the same package, and it's a mixture that kind of mixes colors together. So if you don't know color mixing, they do it for you. And it's called Raspberry Sorbet. There's 35 in each bag, and I got 4 bags. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these out how I want them, and I'll come back and we'll plant them. Okay, I wanted to show you something. I knew this winter that we had a gopher in this bed. Even though I put hardware cloth under the soil, he found the seam and he pushed it up. And you can see down there it's hollow underneath. That's his tunnel. That is not going to work for tulip bulbs because he will be in here and devour each one. So I'm going to have to dig out a little bit more, put another piece of hardware cloth between the seams so he can't push through there anymore, then fill it back in, and then plant the tulips. Nothing is ever straightforward. All right, I've got all the tulip bulbs laid out in their little zigzag pattern all the way through the bed. They were a little bit dry, some of them, so I'm hoping that once they get in here and get watered, they'll be okay. As always, I didn't buy as many as I actually need, so these pine trees were going to be coming out. However, the tulips were supposed to go there as well, and there's not enough. So these 3 pine trees will stay, which is actually okay. It gives height to the bed. Another thing I'm going to do is pinch back these Dusty Miller because they will grow quite tall before the tulips have a chance. So all of the growth tips that I see, just like this, I'm just going to go through, pinch them out, and that's going to force out lower growth here to make these more bushy than tall. So now I'm going to be going through and planting these. They're supposed to be about 6 inches deep. I think the wire is about 6 to 8 inches deep. So I'm just going to plant them about an inch or two above the wire. These are annuals. They're not going to be naturalizing. So once they're done blooming, they're out. So they don't really need to be deep enough to not, hit when I'm digging up other things. Just deep enough to kind of stabilize the stem as they grow. You want to get them around the same depth because you want them all to kind of grow at the same speed so that you'll get most of them blooming at the same time. I could use a bulb planter, but this is really soft soil. All right, I'm going to continue planting these and I'll come back when it's all done. And just a quick note, because I know I'm going to get asked this question down in the comments. So I am not fertilizing these tulips. I'm not putting fertilizer under the bulb. Bulbs have everything they need for their first year's leaves, flowers, etc. These tulips will not be coming back next year. We do not live in a climate where they will naturalize and come back. There's very few climates that tulips actually do as well their second and third year, but here they won't even come back. They're going to be done. So fertilizing them would be a waste of fertilizer. Now, if you live in a climate where they do come back, or if you're growing something like daffodils, which here some varieties of daffodils will come back, you can put some phosphorus, like bone meal or something, underneath the bulb when you plant them, because it will be down there then for next year. Or you can just fertilize them with a liquid fertilizer when they come up next year. As soon as the leaves start coming up through the ground, you can give them some fertilizer at that point. But these tulips, they're a one and done thing. Giving everything a good thorough soak. Even though I have drip in here, anytime I plant something new, I like to give it a good soak with the hose, and then the drip can take care of everything as we move into the future. All right, all done. I think it looks really good. It's going to look better with the tulips, but I pinched these Dusty Miller back. I'm going to keep them pinched so they spread out and they have a nice one, like almost like a hedge of them in a zigzag pattern. Because if you don't pinch these back, they kind of get leggy and they will start to bloom. The blooms are really nothing special. They're yellow. They actually, though, ruin the shape of the plant if you allow them to bloom. So keeping them pinched back is going to serve several purposes. I would say that was a very productive day. I got a lot of work done. I feel really good about it. Right now, in mild climates, you can find berry plants in your garden center. Colder winter climates, wait a couple months and you should see them start to show up there as well. If you guys learned something or enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. It really helps YouTube know to push these types of videos out to a wider audience. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and I'll see you next time.